Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms. It is week 2 of our report from the field, the 19th Annual Investor Summit. We've got a live studio audience and a bunch of great faculty members today on the Real Estate Guys radio program.
If you love real estate and have always wanted to own your own business, listen up. The Real Estate Guys and their panel of experts want to teach you how to go full-time fast in the real estate syndication business. These next few years may go down in history as one of the best times ever to acquire investment real estate. There are deals everywhere if you know where to look and how to assemble the resources. The Secrets of Successful Syndication seminar will show you how to make big money doing big deals from a team of experts that have syndicated projects totaling more than $1 billion. Don't wait for someone to give you a raise or create a job for you. Attend the Secrets of Successful Syndication and learn how to build a team, raise capital, find deals, and make full-time money in 6 months or less. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events. All the big players use syndication as a way to diversify risk, optimize profits, and earn big money. You can too. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events.
Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. We're in Belize for the 19th Annual Investor Summit. We've got a live studio audience. Let's welcome two of the guys that have educated us about a hard asset this week. Of course, precious metals. We'll start with the Enter the Gold newsletter. Brien Lundin. Hey, Brien.
Hello, Robert. Great to be here.
Welcome back. Thanks for making it back. I know you've had a lot going on. You've been locked in the Zoom room like the rest of us, but give us the synopsis of the things you were talking about when you did your talk on why gold.
Well, there's two reasons to own gold, essentially. You can simplify it, divide it into either insurance for your assets, for your wealth, everything you've worked for in life, or as an investment. If you see a trend of higher gold prices, higher prices in dollars or whatever your home currency is, then you can partake in investments, look for investments that leverage that trend that will outperform it. But what I tell people always is use it as insurance, because the depreciation of the dollar and the depreciation of all fiat currencies is always ongoing. But now with the debts that have been accumulated the world over and this globally coordinated monetary reflation, this globally coordinated debt creation, the depreciation of currencies is accelerating right now, and you need to be prepared for that. You absolutely need to hold gold and silver to protect your assets.
Now, this week, we've had a chance to introduce some people to the metals who maybe were just solely real estate investors, and you talked about the different ways that you can own, and our next guest will talk about that too. But let's go to the next level, which is in addition to physically holding bullion or coins, whatever that looks like, you can get earlier in the chain than that, Brien. You spent a lot of time talking to, learning about, and listening to the miners and the mining stocks. Can you talk about that sector?
Yeah, it's a way to, as I said, leverage this trend of higher gold and silver and really broad commodity prices in terms of fiat currencies. So these miners actually produce the metal. Right now, they're really undervalued, and it's a growth industry. The demand trends are growing. Even in base metals, you have supply issues right now, not just short-term supply chain disruptions because of COVID, but long-term secular supply disruptions that will take many years, even decades to rectify. So there are some powerful macro trends working in your favor. You can buy the major miners and capitalize on that. If you're willing to put in some skull sweat and some work, there's a very inefficient market out there in the junior miners, the junior exploration companies, the junior development companies, where the market misses opportunities, and if you put in the work, you can find those opportunities. Much higher risk, stay away from it if you're not willing to do the research and listen to the right people, but the rewards can be absolutely spectacular when it works right.
Now, before we let you out of here, let's give them a little preview into the New Orleans Investment Conference. You run the longest running investment conference in the United States. We never miss it. Tell us about the dates and some of the highlights for this year's event.
Well, it is our 47th anniversary this year, always held in New Orleans. This year it is October 19th through the 22nd. and we have just an absolutely incredible lineup. Some of the speakers, many of the speakers that you had this week are actually going to grace our stage as well this year.
And that's awesome stuff. To find out more, just send an email to neworleans@realestateguysradio.com. You'll also be invited to the Real Estate Guys Suite Party, which is the place to be. How about a hand for Brien Lundin? Now, Brien writes an awesome newsletter, and we get to learn all about what's happening in the market. But where the rubber meets the road is where you actually go and put some of this in your portfolio. So let's say hello to our friendly neighborhood metals dealer, Dana Samuelson. One of my favorite things you do on the summit, Dana, is you have show and tell. So talk about that and the conversations you've been in this week.
It's wonderful to be here. You have the most intelligent group of people come that I've ever met. As I've said before, it's the biggest group of most unassuming overachievers I've ever met, and it's wonderful to be here. So my job is to help people understand physical precious metals, and there's no better way to do that than to show them some examples of the different minted products from the U.S. Mint, the Royal Canadian Mint, South African Mint. These are the major mints that produce bullion, gold and silver coins around the world, and explain the slightly different ways these coins are made, the content of them, the pricing, and some reporting requirements as well with the government. So I help people navigate what might be best for them in the physical precious metals sector. And there's no better way to do that than with a little show and tell.
Absolutely. Now, there's different levels of the kinds of investments. And, you know, from someone who's starting out, kind of the first holdings, and then kind of as they get more into the space, talk about that at progression.
Well, I recommend people start small, get a feel for what they're doing, and an understanding for what metal might have a better relative value relative to another metal. And then step in, and as you get comfortable in the space, you might want to be a bit more aggressive. Right now, I think silver is about 10 to 20% undervalued relative to gold, so I'm recommending if you're just getting started, start with silver. You'll get a little bit more volume for your money, and I think you'll get a little bit more value for your money as well. Gold is more for transferring and holding real wealth in a very compact space. As Robert Kiyosaki says, you can run with gold, but you can spend with silver if you need to in a crisis. And that's part of what this is all about, is having a physical insurance policy for your finances in the event that we have some real trouble.
Now, in this last crazy year, we've seen all kinds of supply interruption, and we've seen prices increase in lumber and copper and so on. It's been hard to get some of these metals. Talk about that side of it.
Well, the supply chain has definitely been strained, and the U.S. Mint has decided to change designs in the middle of this year, so they've got less product to go around in a high-demand environment. So premiums for our home court product, U.S. Gold and Silver Eagles, are abnormally high now. So when this situation arises, and we've been here before, I steer people into the other more competitively priced bullion items like a Royal Canadian Mint Maple Leaf or an Austrian gold or silver Philharmonic, because you get better value for your money. Now, this situation will ease, but that's part of my job, is to help you understand where your best value is at the marketplace at the time that you want to buy or sell physical precious metals.
There's Dana Samuelson. If you enjoyed your time with Dana, give him a hand. Well, speaking of resources, we got a gentleman with us who's going to talk about, say it. That's right. Let's say hello from Panther Exploration to Bob Burr. Hey, Bob.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Wake up out there. Let's go.
So, Bob, you got a bunch of peppers on your badge, which means you've been with us a bunch of times. You and your crew are educating us about oil and gas. And it's been a strange ride in the last year and a half. Oil and gas at one point negative, and then we watched the price of the pumps. Give us the big picture on the investment advantages into oil and gas, and also some of the risks.
When you wake up and oil was $25, $15, minus $40, you get a severe gut check, to say the least. And it's happening all over spontaneously. Everybody is scared to death. I called my group together, my boys, and we sat down and I said, boys, this is the greatest opportunity that we will ever see. The strong survive, the weak, they do whatever they do. but it's time to push the money out in the middle of the table. So we set up a program whereby we were buying depressed assets. A lot of guys, Robert Kiyosaki's age and my age, sort of want to rest. When we go to that other side, we'll get to rest a long time. Right now we play, and I don't rest. I don't have time to rest. I don't like to rest. So we started buying product. Our first acquisition, we took it from zero income to $350,000 a month production oil income, and now oil's up to $70 a barrel, $65, $67 a barrel, and we look like gold. Really, it's good. We got a lot of work to do. These fields that we're buying are undeveloped fields for whatever reason. The guys didn't go get it. We're going to get it. And we just bought another acquisition in Louisiana, the Choctaw Bay Salt Dome. Brad Simmons, who is president of our company, Acquisitions, Burr Wright Acquisitions, he specializes in salt domes, been doing it for 37 years. Very educated guy, just a real sharp dude. And he says it's the most undeveloped salt dome he's ever seen. Discovered by a major in 1929. They went in and got the sugar, and just remember in 1929, 1940, 1950, the technology was, they were still using, well, they had payphones back then. So that tells you where we've come. And we'll drill 100 to 150 wells down there in the next 5 years. Probably be running 3 rigs. But it's good. And in that particular instance, they call it mining oil, not drilling for bright spots on 3D seismic, subsurface geology. The salt domes are just fractured. You have tremendous porosity in the sands. You actually have to put screens in them and gravel pack them. I won't go into all that detail. But we are excited. We're going to make a lot of money. If you folks are interested, we'll take our time and educate you. I want you to ask every damn question on your mind, and if we can't answer it, we stop there. And this is a beautiful relationship we have with the real estate guys, with Robert and Russ and family, and with you. And we cherish this relationship. Very few folks have this relationship. And we have been fortunate enough to get in here and do some things right. And one thing, you'll get the straight scoop. I don't BS. I don't have time for it. Whatever it is, and that's what we got to deal with. And we can't paint it red when it's yellow. I mean, that's just how it works. So we're excited, Robert, and thank you very much for letting me be here.
Absolutely, my friend. Now, Now, why I have you up here, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the experience of just seeing the light in people's eyes, new folks coming in, a bunch of new people this year and so on. And, you don't just talk about oil, you talk about life. So give us one of those great Bob Burr lessons before we get out of here this year.
Well, every day is a great day if you see it the right way. I hear all these beautiful speakers speaking here, and it feeds my soul. I came up the hard way, raised in South Louisiana and East Texas. And I'll tell you a quick little story. When I was leaving that country, I was 18 years old, married with a child, no money coming in, had a full scholarship to play ball, but there's no ball for this dude. I had to go make a living. And I went by to see my grandpapa, and he's laying on his deathbed. Old Papa wasn't book smart, but he had more common sense probably than any man I've ever known. And he called me Robert Dean. He said, Robert Dean, before you leave this swamp, take that road out in front, old dirt road. He said, drive back to the river, turn around, and boy, drive real slow and look and see what's here. He said, you have a spark the rest of them don't have. He said, there's nothing here for you, boy. You got to leave this pack or you'll die. And you got to go to the lights. Well, I'm going, and I did exactly what Papa said. And he gave me permission to do my deal. I rode down that road and big old tears in my eyes. And I said, I hear you loud and clear, Papa. And I hit it out, and I've never looked back. You know, life's free. They even pay us to play it. Some folks get all complicated about what's going on. Do your deal. Leave it on the field. Don't cheat yourself. Damn it. There's one thing that we definitely all have that's equal. Just one thing I can think of. If I'd have been 6'7" and weighed 280, I'd be in the Hall of Fame playing ball because I was a hitter. I loved it. You couldn't, I mean, damn it, I loved that game. But the good Lord didn't give me the body for it. And it hurt every time. The further I got up, the more those hits hurt. We have 24 hours a day. Each and every one of us have 24 hours a day. You can't outwork me. You can tie me, but by God, you can't outwork me. Well, when I got in this deal, and sometimes we miss this, and I don't think we shared enough with you folks, the young ones especially. This is a hard trip. This isn't a gimme. You got to climb the hill every damn day. You're going to bust your knee. You're going to break your ankle. You're going to have disappointments. You're going to have and then you're going to have a high that picks you up and you go to the sky. And then it's a continuous way of life. When I started building my business in Bowling Green, Kentucky, 30 years ago, I was always the money guy. My brother sort of ran the business. I lost him. He was killed in a car wreck. So all of a sudden, I've got to do all of it. Well, I said, self, you know you are an egomaniac. You know you think you are God sent. You know all those things, Burr, and that won't work building a company. You got to go in there, and I made a motto that no one would ever work for me again. I would work for everybody around me forever. And it would have to become a way of life. And I looked up in the heavens, and I said, God, you know I got to fake it a while, because that's not really me. But guess what? You get in there, and you start loving your people, and you hugging your people, and you transform into that individual. I have more friends now and more folks that care about me than I ever dreamed about having back when I was the hot dog and I was rolling and had my 450 Mercedes and all this stuff. I still have a Beamer, but but the deal is, once you get there and you start growing, people have faith in you. They know that the boys, if one of them gets a DWI and he's in jail, I go get him at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not mad about going to get him. That's what I do for a damn living. That's part of the deal. You just can't take the sugar. You got to take the bitter. It's all the same. What the hell? Anyway, that's my little story.
Have a hand for Bob Burr. Just felt like we could use a little personal development this morning. We had some of that yesterday with our next guest coming back on the summit year after year. How about that, Kyle Wilson? For 18 years, Kyle, you were Jim Rohn's business partner. Yesterday, you shared not only some great marketing ideas, but some great memories and photos. Give us the quick overview of coming back again and again as a summiteer and sharing with folks.
Yeah, no, it's so great to be here. You see so many familiar faces year after year, and the smiles keep getting bigger. Just getting to talk to people, and that's, as Bob Burr was saying, it was all about the relationships and connecting, and personal development's been a big part of my life. It's what changed my life. I'm known as an entrepreneur, as a strategist, as a marketer, but at the core it's personal development, and it's really philosophy. Jim Rohn talked about your philosophy, and so that sets the sell of everything we do. And so principles are timeless, and I think Jim Rohn was just the ultimate example of how to live a life, how to build a business, and I just had that good fortune.
Well, and this week it's different than any other event we do, because it's not just come in for a couple of days, have a cocktail party, meet some people, trade some business cards, and go. I mean, we are working hard, we're playing hard, we're studying together, we're breaking paradigms. You can hear them shattering all over the place. We've had things go as expected some days, and then the other kind of days. But on balance, that's just what life is.
Yeah, it's like you talk to entrepreneurs and they want to have a schedule that's just A, B, C, D, and it all goes perfect. I'm like, Well, if you worked in an emergency room, what would that be like, right? And that's being an entrepreneur, that's part of life, and we've heard it multiple times. Challenges, I think Russ talked about it the first day. Welcome challenges. Challenges are what force us to get better and to learn and to shift. And so it's a catalyst. No one wants to go through it, but that's just part of business.
Well, it is. And what we can do as entrepreneurs is to make sure we set the sail with our mindset and that we're looking at stuff the right way. Jim used to always talk about the perspective. From this side, it looks this way, but if I come over here and look from this side, oh, it looks differently. So I think there's been a lot of perspective shifting this week as well.
No, and that's a big part of the summit. We come and we know what we know, but we don't know what we don't know. And you get around really smart people. And like I said yesterday, be a student, not a follower. Make sure that you're taking it in, but you make your own decisions and just go back and weigh it all. The worst thing we can do is just follow what everyone teaches. Find out what works for you, factor in all the different aspects of your life, your goals, your inventory, and then come up with your own conclusions. But here's the key: get around smart people, listen to smart podcasts, find your tribe, and that's what you guys have done here.
How about Ambergris Wilson? You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. More when we come back. I'm your host, Robert Helms, with a live studio audience.
Live nationwide. You're listening to the Real Estate Guys. Find out more at realestateguysradio.com.
As real estate investors, it's no secret that the Real Estate Guys love Florida, and the Sunshine State continues to receive more than its fair share of businesses and population relocating from the Northeast, which has created a huge opportunity for real estate investors. So come join Russ and me in mid-August for our first ever Jacksonville Palm Coast Ocala field trip. On this highly interactive trip, you'll get an up-close, hands-on, personal experience you'd be hard-pressed to find elsewhere. You'll feel the vibrancy of the markets, observe the quality of the infrastructure, and truly get a sense for the demographics, all things you just can't do by simply searching online. Plus, we'll introduce you to our Boots on the Ground team, and you'll meet some amazing investors from all over. To reserve your spot, go to realestateguysradio.com and click Events, where you'll find the Jacksonville Field Trip. There's a big difference between researching a market from afar and seeing it with your own eyes. So join the Real Estate Guys August 12th through 15th as we explore not one, but 3 amazing real estate markets. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click Events for the Jacksonville Palm Coast Ocala Field Trip. See you there.
Hey, ever wished you could go back in time and do some tax planning? Now you can, just like Marty McFly. Lucky for you, a brand new federal law just made this possible with an EQRP to get tax deductions and reduce your taxable income from last year, so you can use that tax savings to invest in real estate, Bitcoin, gold, even your own business. Whether you're a full-time investor, doctor, government employee, even if you have 5 or 50 employees, the EQRP works and is your secret weapon, and now it's retroactive. Hey, I'm Damian Lupo, and we have your solution. By the way, if you got bad advice and used an IRA for an apartment syndication, you are sitting on a U-bit time bomb. But don't worry, there's a solution, the EQRP. The EQRP company is ready to help you get control of your money, kill U-bit, and help you pay way less taxes. Want to learn more about this strategy? Send an email to eqrp@realestateguysradio.com for my special EQRP report. Paying tax or letting Wall Street suck you dry is dumb. Your first step is freeing your retirement money by sending an email to eqrp@realestateguysradio.com today.
Hi, this is Frank Holmes, Chief Investment Officer and CEO of U.S. Global Investors, and you are listening to The Real Estate Guys.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program. It's our Investor Summit with a live studio audience. It has been a transformational week in so many ways, and returning for her 5th time, let's say hello to Kim Kiyosaki. Hey, Kim.
Thank you. So great to be here. So great to be here.
Welcome back. Tell us about what you had to share this week and maybe what you had to take away from this week.
Yeah, I'm going to start with what I took away and what I'm still taking away. Okay, so we're all on Zoom calls and Zoom conference calls and all of this. And here, being face-to-face with people is there's nothing like it. Being in person, because at these events we have all these speakers and they're on stage. But really where a lot of my learning comes from and where a lot of my takeaways come from are talking with people during breakfast, during lunch, during dinner, during breaks. because there's such a wealth of information, not just with the instructors, but with all the participants. So I learn as much from everybody here as I do from the instructors. And I come as a student more than a teacher.
You know, over the years, as you guys have spoken to audiences of 10,000, 20,000, you've got the big monitors, the lights in your eyes, you can barely see people. This is kind of the polar opposite of that.
Oh, I love this.
Every night
Yeah.
you're at dinner with just, 6, 7 other people.
Yeah, it's intimate. I get to talk one-on-one with people. I actually get to know people. I have my phone as blowing up with contacts of new people, and it really has become very much of a family. That's one of my takeaways, is I've gotten some very strong connections and some great ideas. I mean, as I'm sitting here listening to different speakers, listening to the attendees here, I'm texting back at our office. Well, what about this? Let's try this. Let's try this. I'm texting our CPA. What about do we have fixed rate mortgages? Do we have it's like, it's hands-on, at the moment action.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of learning from taking action, yesterday a bunch of folks were able to play cash flow in the
Yes,
Caribbean.
yes.
You and Robert got up and talked a little bit about the game, the genesis of the game, and so forth. But just talk about that tool, the cash flow game, around the world, not just here, not just in the United States, but all around the world. People are still playing that game.
Yeah, I was so happy to see everybody playing the game, and we've just launched our updated version of the game, so they were playing that. That's near and dear to Robert's and my heart. That was the very first product we created, and it's why actually we started the Rich Dad Company, was because in 1994, Robert and I were financially free. And everybody wanted us to travel the world and teach everybody what we did to get out of the rat race to become financially free. And then we thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could create a board game that was fun, that was entertaining, and that was educational? And that board game, that's our initiative with the Rich Dad Company, is we have cash flow clubs, people getting together on a regular basis all over the world playing the game and teaching one another. So Robert's and my initiative is to get the cash flow game to every corner of this planet so that we can bring financial education to the masses. And that's what the game is about. So to see people here playing the cash flow game was like, this is what our mission is about. It just made my heart sing.
If you had fun playing cash flow, show of applause. How about a hand for Kim Kiyosaki?
Thank you. And I just want to give a hand to all of you, because you've made my week here just fantastic. So thank you all.
We are blessed to have so many returning faculty members that had such a good time they come back. About a year ago, we met this next gentleman, asked him to be on our podcast, where he blew our mind. He then had us on his podcast, and we've just figured out a way to get him here following his big event, his first big event. It's like, well, our dates overlap. But that didn't stop him. He got here, making his first appearance at an Investor Summit. Let's say hi to George Gammon. George, welcome to the craziness.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. I can't tell you. The biggest thing that I've learned from this whole experience is probably how many mistakes I made at the early part of my career, pretty much before I retired. And I've never been short on confidence, to say the least. My father would always tell me that, Georgie boy, you're a legend in your own mind. And so I would always go about business thinking I had all the answers. I didn't really look for input from other people, a couple people, but not too many. I was incredibly decisive. That was good. I never had a hard time making up my mind. But I was working probably quite literally 70 hours a week. I'm sure many of you know the feeling. And when I retired, that last business that I had, I got it up to about 24 million in annual revenues. But now, I had never been to a conference. Up until just the conference I did my own conferences, but I had never been to someone else's conference, a networking conference, if you will. I had never been to a mastermind group. Kenny had to tell me what it was. I had absolutely no clue. So when I come to an event like this and I see all the amazing people and all the talented people that have so much to offer above and beyond what they're here to learn, it just makes me reflect back to my own career and look myself in the mirror. And honestly, with frustration, because I know that, yeah, I got a business up to a certain level, or I did a few businesses like that, but I was working those 70, 80 hours a week. And if I just would have allowed myself to expand my horizons, to meet amazing people like you guys and the real estate guys, and incorporate that into what I was doing, that same 70 or 80 hours a week I was working, instead of producing a $24 million a year business, would have produced a $240 million a year business. So I'm so excited to be here, but I'm excited because I've learned how to really operate in the future, to maximize those hours I'm allocating to what I'm doing, and really grow the business in an exponential way, using the leverage of amazing people like the individuals here in this room.
How about have for George Gammon, ladies and gentlemen?
Real estate investment advice right in your mailbox. Sign up for the free Real Estate Guys newsletter at realestateguysradio.com.
Real Estate Guys listeners, are you tired of losing real estate deals due to financing issues? Have you had enough of waiting on banks, lenders, and investor groups to fund new projects? What if there were a way to eliminate all the hassle and invest in real estate on your own terms? I'm here to tell you there is. Patrick Donahoe here from Paradigm Life. I'm an Investopedia Top 100 Most Influential Financial Advisor, and I recently wrote a best-selling book about the financial strategy that changed my entire investment model, and the one that could change yours. To get a copy of my book for free and learn how you can maximize your real estate portfolio by acting as your own bank, send an email to mybank@realestateguysradio.com. Don't make another real estate deal without reading my book first. Email mybank@realestateguysradio.com now to get your copy for free.
In uncertain times like this, it's great to know there are two things you can always count on: high demand for affordable single-family homes to live in, and Terry Kerr's amazing Memphis team at Mid-South Home Buyers to find, fix, and manage the next addition to your recession-resistant real estate portfolio. The Memphis market is logistics and distribution dynamo with an economic engine that's essential to moving goods and critical supplies all over the United States. Quality rehab, proven profitable property management, affordable rents, and solid ROI make turnkey property investing through Terry's team a dream when it matters most. To learn more about Memphis and Mid-South Home Buyers, send an email to midsouth@realestateguysradio.com. That's midsouth@realestateguysradio.com.
Hi, this is Lawrence Yun, Chief Economist with National Association of Realtors, and you are listening to the Real Estate Guys.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program. Heard every week on this great station, and not every week, but this week with a live studio audience. It has been such an amazing experience. Back for his 9th time, the Rich Dad advisor and best-selling author, Ken McElroy. Kenny, welcome back.
Thank you. Awesome to be back.
Great to have you back. It's been a ton of fun. Not only your main stage presentation where you shared a lot of good stuff, but the impromptu panels and hanging out at dinner. Tell us about your week.
Well, first of all, this is, we come to these events as speakers, but I look at the agenda, I look at the people that are coming, and that's actually what makes me very excited to listen to, guys who are talking about oil and gold. And of course, George this year has been I talked to George, and I'm glad you guys are all confused too, because I'm trying to learn just alongside of you guys. So I love coming, I love to learn, and really glad to be back. Thank you.
It's funny, we have George here, and he was going to leave, and he extended his stay, which was awesome, so we decided to take a cocktail party and turn it into Slammin' with Gammon, and George just shared some ideas with us, and it's brilliant, right, self-taught guy, and he says, well, maybe I should draw it on the board, and Kenny goes, yeah, because that was way too simple. But drawn on the board, like his whiteboard videos, sometimes a picture does tell 1,000 words.
Yeah, well, I went back to my table saying I need to study the repo market. That's going to be one of my goals. I had talked. I've listened to George's videos. We've been on each other's channels on YouTube, and of course, I've been listening to him, as a friend, and that was a new one for me, even though he's talked about it. So that's something that I'm going to dig into. So I walk away with things, my individual goals, things that I want to learn and study, so that I can be a better investor.
Many years ago, we did a panel where we all talked about our first investment, and you talked about that first little unit. Everyone thinks of you and your partner Ross as the 10,000 door guys, but people have to start somewhere and build from there. Share some of your thoughts on that.
Well, it's interesting. I went back to my high school reunion recently, and I was thinking when I was in there, how everybody kind of starts in the same spot. And so it's interesting when you go back in, all these years later, and you're looking around, you're seeing the choices that they make on health and finances and study and all those kinds of things. And, I feel like anybody in that room can do anything they want at any time. And for me, I started with a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with my own money, not knowing how to raise money, not really, honestly, I knew how to manage stuff, but I didn't really know how to invest. I didn't know how to get a loan. I certainly didn't know how to go syndicate or anything like that. But I did know that I wanted cash flow. And so that was a simple concept for me. And so that was my first deal. After a while, you run out of your own money, and you pretty much have to get creative and use somebody else's.
Your talk was in harmony with our theme 2 years ago, which was the idea of infinite returns. Give us just that concept, because this is kind of a paradigm breaker for folks. What is an infinite return?
So I think it's important to know that when I look for something, whatever it is, I'm always looking for my exit. And my exit isn't a sale. So that's off the table. So I'm never looking to buy something to sell it, ever. I'm always looking for, how do I get my money back? How do I get my investors' money back? Always, before we even buy it. So there's no strategy that we kind of come up with when we own it. It's all predetermined. Now, it doesn't always work. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's not as good. But I think it's important to know that, the financial system is set up to provide housing. That's what they do. They give you tax breaks because, if you just follow what the tax laws tell you to do, which is give you big incentives to provide housing for the private sector, you're going to see that cash out refis, cash out refinances, instead of buying boats or remodeling a kitchen, when you start to build your assets that provide income, then pretty soon, before you know it, you're out of the rat race. And so for me, when I learned that I could use debt to buy something, which is OPM, other people's money, and then use debt to pay all of them back tax-free, which is other people's money, and then get the tax-deferred income from the property because of depreciation and all the kinds of things that you get from the tax laws, it just became a winning hand.
Let's have a hand for Ken McElroy. All right, and wrapping it up today, he's got a whole bunch of peppers on his badge. Let's say good morning to the best-selling financial author in the world, Robert Kiyosaki. Welcome back, my friend. Thanks for being here. What's on your mind?
Well, thank you. And I did what everybody says is we come back to speak, but we also come back to learn. And the real estate guys, they're the first people that ever, in 1997, when I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I needed to promote it. And they were the first people that had me on the radio program 25 years ago. Is that funny? And so I keep coming back because I come back to learn. And as my Rich Dad often says, the problem with a free public education is the price.
Well, speaking of education, financial education isn't taught in schools, as we've talked about, but it doesn't mean that you can't get educated. We talked about the board game, but you've been a prolific author for a long time. Everyone knows Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but you don't have to write any more books, but you do because you have that burning desire to teach. Talk about what can happen when people actually take action on education.
Well, the reason I write is because there's, like I said, the problem with a free public education is free. You don't get anything from it. You get some bad ideas. And so if you look at what Kenny has on his shirt, because this is a radio show, but it's infinite. And my rich dad said that there's infinite returns. And I went, what does that mean? He says, you don't need money. And for most of my life, you know, Kenny and I laugh about it. So instead of ending the Fed, just be the Fed. Print your own money. And so in 1973, I did my first infinite return. I took a real estate class. It cost me, I think, $385, which was a lot of money back then. I only made $600 a month. And I bought a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo on Maui for no money down. I made $25. So that was 73, and it changed my life. I said, I don't need money. So our schools tell us to go to school to work for money. So if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, lesson number 1 is rich don't work for money. But the question is, what do you work for? And it's exactly as Kenny says, the tax breaks are given to people who actually do what the government wants done. So we provide housing, so we pay no taxes. But the ultimate goal really is to get back to where Dana Samuelson and Brien Lundin is that in 1971, they took the dollar off the gold standard so that repo market and the shadow banking system, which I've studied, can flourish. You see, the repo, I study that stuff, I still don't understand it. The repo market and the shadow banking system is based upon agreements. You have, if Kenny doesn't pay me, it breaks. That's like if I go into a house and the toilets don't work, everything breaks apart. So the reason you want to get back to gold is called no counterparty risk. Gold is God's money, silver is God's money. Bitcoin is the blockchain more than anything else, is that you don't have to trust on criminals. If you understand that, then you get back to the true source of money, which is trust. And that's why I don't like the school system, because they teach you to go to school, get a job, work hard, save money that they're printing unmercifully right now, and invest in that criminal stock market. I mean, I have stocks, but they're mining shares, exactly as Brien says. But without financial education, you go to school, you work for money, and you pay taxes, and then you get student loan debt. And if you don't have a financial statement, they'll give you a credit card. That's not financial education, that's extortion. And that's why the school system must be ended. It is a criminal organization. Thank you.
Robert Kiyosaki, ladies and gentlemen.
Need help with your real estate investment portfolio? Check out the resources page at realestateguysradio.com.
Hey, it's Robert Helms. Thanks so much for listening to the show today. I want to personally invite you to come see an amazing real estate market that combines excellent cash flow, offshore diversification, and what we affectionately call lifestyle investing. Come join me from August 20th to 23rd in the beautiful country of Belize. The Real Estate Guys have been bringing investors to Belize for more than 15 years now, and our discovery trip is designed to show you the market like nobody else can. Sure, Belize is breathtakingly beautiful. The people are wonderful. And wait till you taste the food. But the real opportunity is the real estate investment potential. Demand for offshore real estate has skyrocketed since the coronavirus shutdown, and with retirees looking for lifestyle, the work-from-home workforce able to be productive from afar, and tourism coming back strong, now may be the perfect time to consider Belize as a place to diversify risk in your investment portfolio. There's all types of opportunities in Belize when it comes to real estate investing, including both long and short-term rentals, commercial and retail triple net properties, business opportunities, land acquisition, development, agriculture, and more. As the only country in Latin America with English as its official language, it's easy to understand the law. Property rights are strong, and contracts are written in English. And in Ambergris Caye, a unique situation exists where demand for rentals continues to outstrip supply, creating a compelling environment for investors. So come see for yourself. Join me in August in Ambergris Caye, Belize, as we study the market, learn about the sustainable drivers, and tour lots of beautiful real estate. And like all of our field trips, there are no properties for sale during the weekend. Rather, you'll meet lots of local providers that will help educate you about the market so that you can follow up with them after the trip if the market is interesting to you. You've heard about Belize and the Real Estate Guys for all these years. Now come see what all the excitement is about. Plus, we'll have lots of time over meals and activities to talk about all things real estate. To get the details, go to the website at realestateguysradio.com and click on events where you'll find the Belize Discovery Trip. Once you register, you'll get information about our group hotel rates as well as travel details. So join me in Belize, August 20th to 23rd. It's a beautiful country with lots of amazing possibilities, and the only thing missing is you. Go to realestateguysradio.com under events, and I look forward to seeing you in beautiful Belize.
Hi, I'm Nomi Prinz, author of Collusion. You're listening to The Real Estate Guys.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program. Thanks so much for tuning into the show today. My goodness, what an amazing group of folks here for the Investor Summit. And an incredible faculty, Russell Gray.
You know, for the people who are out there who are listening to this that were there, you get it, right? You understand, and the veterans really understand. And especially after having missed last year, Summit on the Screen, I joke all the time how awesome it was and how it sucked. Because there's so many things that go on in the conversations around the pool this year, in the beach club, at the dinner table, and just those water cooler moments that you have in an office on steroids with the caliber of people. And we always have to remark on that because that's really what makes it. People say, how in the world do you get all these amazing speakers to come out and you don't pay any of them? Well, the reason is because we put them in a room full of amazing people and they have really good quality conversations, not just with each other, but with the participants. There's so many of you out there in this listening audience that are just enormously successful. It just blows my mind. Entrepreneurs and investors that have built not a few $1 million, I mean, 10, 20, 30, $40 million net worths. We had some pretty substantial folks. And when you get around people that have figured out life and business and investing to that level, and you start having deep conversations about what's going on in the world and what are you going to do and how are you going to navigate and how are you going to protect your wealth? How are you going to build your wealth? How are you even going to anticipate what's happening? And you hear what they're thinking about or what they're concerned about and listen to the questions that they ask and then hear other people chime in with their answers. I don't know any place else on earth where you can go to have that kind of experience and get so much done in so little time.
Well, it's so true. And you heard the faculty all remark about just the caliber of the people. And it's easy to just let that comment go by. But having attended a lot of events and having promoted a ton of events, ours and other people's, we know no two events are the same and they're not created equally. And the summit is really for the uber serious entrepreneur. It doesn't mean you have to have 20 years of real estate experience. It just means you have to be serious. You have to be willing to do what it takes to collapse timeframes, to implement the ideas that you hear, not just take notes and go, that's interesting. It's just a completely different mindset. People are coming expecting, in fact, demanding a return. The summit is very expensive on one hand, and on the other hand, it's way too cheap. Because people come with an expectation based on what they've invested. And because it takes 8 or 10 days, and because it costs a chunk of money and airfare and all those things, people treat it seriously. And yet it's not a serious conference, and that even though we're talking about stuff that matters, people are building relationships, they're having a good time, they're recognizing that come what may in the market, good, bad, or otherwise, building a tribe that you can lean on, that you can create sounding boards with, that is what gets you through when the going gets tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we have the young folks. These are guys and gals that had not accomplished a lot yet in their life. They're clearly on their way, but they're committed to the process. And so you don't have to come in with a high net worth. You don't have to come in with a big, long list of accomplishments. To your point, Robert, you just got to come in with a real attitude of eagerness and willingness to learn, and you bring what you bring. Right? We all have unique experiences. We all have unique knowledge. Even a young person could have a bunch of time in a specific area of study or endeavor, and they've got something to bring to the party. I had a chance to just recently have lunch with my nephew, who's just, I don't know what, he's 20 23, 25 years old, something like that. And he's on the front end of figuring life out, just got out of college. And, one of the things I said to him, when you're a young person, you just got to understand that, if you're talking to somebody, say 50 years old and you're 25 years old, then you probably ought to listen 2/3 of the time to 75% of the time and only talk about 25% of the time. And a lot of that is just to keep the conversation going. But with that said, if you're talking to someone and you've got your 1,000 hours or your 2,000 or your 10,000 hours in on an area, like, for example, he was a football player, high-level football player, a college, D1 football player. If we were going to have a conversation about football, I'm going to do the listening.
Right.
I don't have that expertise. He does. He's got a lot of time, way more time than I ever had in football. But, if we're going to talk business or investing, then he needs to be quiet and listen to me because I've got my, 40,000 hours or whatever it is in that. And I think that, when you understand that, when you get in a room full of high-powered people, and you can take this to the bank wherever you are, you don't have to come on our summit. Anytime you get in a room full of people, if you're in the right room and you're in over your head, as you should be, then you just have to understand where you fit into that room and how to play your card, how to represent yourself in such a way that you get the value out of the room. If you go in there trying to show off how smart you are to smart people, I know because I've done it, you end up looking like an idiot. And I have done it many times, and that's why I have so much energy on it. But if you flip it over, you will learn so much so fast. So don't feel intimidated about getting into these great conversations. Just remember how to know who you are and where you're at and when to talk and when to listen. And the less experienced you are and the bigger the room is, the less you talk, the more you listen.
We had more than 20 young adults in the program this year, and we specifically set aside a number of spots for the young adults, ages 18 to 25. They pay less than the cost of the event, but they have to have skin in the game. If they can't afford that, we have a scholarship program. And if you have someone who's young in your life, who's got the fire in their belly, but they don't have the wherewithal, well, this is an opportunity for them to apply for a scholarship if they need to, or just sign up at the young adult rate. And we've reserved 30 spots for young adults for next year. About 10 of those are already taken from young adults that came this year, but there still is going to be room in that program. So be thinking about who you have in your life that is a young person, or if you are a young person, it's a great way to get started. We had one young gentleman in his 20s who's already raised $3 million in syndication. It was amazing just to meet some of the folks who were there soaking it up and the value they add, because you're right, Russ, everybody brings something to the room. You don't have to be Robert Kiyosaki to be the oracle up there. You can be the person who's just figured out some unique angle in your market or in your investing, and people want to hear that and they want to, learn. And we learn from everybody. We put the young adults some nights at tables with other young adults so they can hang and get to know each other, and they built up a great little camaraderie. And then other nights we distribute them throughout the rest of the table so that we can get to know some of these extraordinary young people. I had 2 evenings where I had 3 or 4 young adults at my table, and they were absolutely amazing. So that program will continue. If you're thinking about joining us next year, you should. It will be the 20th annual Investor Summit. About halfway through the week, we asked the summiteers to vote on whether they wanted to get back on a cruise ship, which we've done for 18 years previously, come back to the same resort we went to, or try out a new resort. And the answer was overwhelming that folks wanted to head right back to beautiful Ambergris Caye, Belize. So we've got the dates, we've got the location. It's June 10th through the 18th, 2022. Tickets are not available yet. We're going to go on sale in August, but if you are interested and you'd like to get on the advanced notice list, what that allows you to do is be the very first to hear about it and grab an early spot. And to do that, all you have to do is send an email to summit2022@realestateguysradio.com. Summit 2022 at realestateguysradio.com. We'll get you all the information.
Yeah. And, if this feels a little bit like a commercial, I'm sorry about that. But the reality is this thing is going to sell out. We sold out this year and we had to turn people away. And that's just because the venue, it's really hard to do this kind of an event in any venue. Even on a cruise ship, we've always had this problem. Once we got to the point where we were consistently bringing, 200, 250 people, it's almost impossible to find a meeting space in a venue that we can take over the way we need to be able to do this type of event. But we sell it hard because we see what it does in people's lives. We see the way that their lives are transformed, and they come away and they're like, this is the most unbelievable thing. I'm George Gammon. George is a smart guy, very successful entrepreneur, businessman, multimillionaire, got a great podcast. We've been on it and he's been on ours, but his show Rebel Capitalist is amazing. Super, super smart guy, and getting a chance to get to know him a little bit and just look at the way he's curious about the macro picture the way I am and self-taught the way I am. We just really hit it off. He was the first guy to re-up. He was the first guy to go, man, this is the most amazing thing ever. And this is a guy, I listened to his show and he goes to a lot of different conferences, but he was the first guy to go, this is the most amazing thing I've ever been to. I'm back for sure. So he was the first guy to re-up. G. Edward Griffin and Kenny McElroy were right there with him. I know we're going to get our usual cast of characters. Hopefully Peter Schiff will be back. I would expect that's going to happen. And, we're always on the lookout for new folks because of what's going on in the world. Obviously, the cryptocurrency space, we had a new crypto speaker there, and she was amazing. And I learned a ton from her. And I think there's going to be more of that because that's kind of the direction the world is headed. The other thing is we talked a little bit more than we maybe usually do about precious metals, and that was amazing because that's going to be a big, big story going forward. And of course, the energy story continues to be a big story. And so these are common themes, but we need to be paying attention to them as real estate investors because they affect the capital markets, the interest rates, job creation. They're all interrelated, and that's one of the things you discover on the summit.
So if you're interested in learning more about the 20th Annual Investor Summit taking place in Belize in 2022, just send an email to summit2022@realestateguysradio.com. Speaking of learning and visiting beautiful places, we've got 2 field trips in August. So we've refired up the field trip machine, and you can join us in either Jacksonville, Florida or Ambergris Caye, Belize. All the details of those trips on our website at realestateguysradio.com under the tab that says event. Big thanks to all the summiteers. Those are the folks that attended this year, to our amazing faculty. And until next week, go out and make some equity happen.
This episode of the Real Estate Guys radio show is brought to you by Paradigm Life. Powerful cash management strategies using life insurance. Learn more at beyourbank.com. Mid-South Home Buyers. Low-cost, turnkey cash flow properties in Memphis, Tennessee. Corporate Direct. Asset protection strategies for real estate investors from attorney and rich dad advisor Garrett Sutton. Find these and other great companies under the Resources tab at realestateguysradio.com. To learn how you can expose your product or service to the Real Estate Guys audience, call 888-489-7723 extension 4. That's 888-489-7723 extension 4. Or use the feedback page at realestateguysradio.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week right here on the Real Estate Guys Radio Show.